Hi friends, and thanks for joining us for episode 4 of our weekly Lenten video series, Finding Sanctuary. So glad you joined us. So last summer, I was home visiting my mom, and I was in my bedroom from when I was a child and digging through the closet, and I rediscovered my comic book collection from when I was a kid. And I have boxes and boxes of old comic books from when I was a young boy that I collected for years, pretty much my entire adolescence. And I went through and sorted them and cataloged them carefully and preserved them with comic book backing boards and bags that they slide into. And I was looking through them, and I kind of see this neat evolution. When I was a little boy, first starting out collecting comics, here's a beloved Star Wars comic book from 1979. It's issue 23 of the Star Wars comic book series. And I read this thing so many times the cover fell off. I probably read this thing 50 times. And you can kind of see as the years go on and I get a little bit older and more mature and I start handling things more carefully, I take a little bit better care of my comics. Like here's the Star Wars adaptation of the Empire Strikes Back movie from 1980 or 81, and that's in a little bit better shape. And I have hundreds of comic books from Star Wars to the X-Men to Spider-Man to Thor to Iron Man and the Avengers. They're all in there. And I can't tell you how much enjoyment I've had in paging through these old comic books and reading them and cataloging them and sorting them and identifying holes in my collection where I could go back and pick up an issue or two to fill out a complete run of issues of a favorite run of a series of one of my books. And maybe you have memories of collecting cards when you were, baseball cards when you were a kid, or you were a comic book collector or something like that. Regardless, when I look through some of these books, I was reminded of just how much artistic talent it takes to create a comic book. And did you know, or were you aware of how much talent is involved in just creating a single issue? Well, there's the writer, of course, that comes up with the script for the book and works together with the editor to set up a story arc for the whole series and how the characters are going to evolve and the major plot elements. And then, of course, you have the artist that comes in and draws the characters and the scenes and roughs in all of the details of the action. But then there's a second artist who comes along after that called the inker, and the inker comes in and draws all of the shading and all of the darkening of the different light and dark colors or shades in the scene and refines all of the details. And then of course you have the colorist who comes along after that and provides with an ink pen or watercolors, provides color for all of the scenes. And then there's the person called the letterer that comes in and draws all of the words in and the word bubbles and all of the descriptions of the action. And then of course you have an editor that oversees all of the books at the comic book company, so all of the storylines are in continuity and they're playing nicely with each other and they're not contradicting each other's storylines. And that's just in a single issue. Now multiply that times all of the different books at a publishing house and all of the people involved in making a comic book. There's a lot of artists involved in just that one single thing. So over the course of the pandemic this past year, I think a lot of us found that we had a lot more time at home than we had in the past. Like you, I found myself using all of that time that maybe would have been spent out of the house traveling or at meetings or at a social engagement or enjoying or doing some other thing outside of the house. I found myself enjoying a lot more forms of creative and visual arts. Think about over this past year how many more extra movies or TV shows you maybe watched or streamed over the internet this past year, or how many more and different radio programs or recording artists that you've enjoyed as you've streamed the radio or streamed musicians as you were at work in your home office or puttering around the house. Now when you think of all of that, all of these artists and musicians and writers and actors and so on, I want you to imagine what this past year would have been like if you were to subtract all of them take all of them away from that past year of your life. Take all of those screenwriters and actors and musicians and book editors and writers and just have them just vanish. What would this past year have been like? I imagine that it would probably have been a pretty miserable year. It would have been a much drearier place, wouldn't it? Because the great thing is that these creative artists of various types add so much beauty and wonderment to our lives. They enrich our existence. They provide touchstones of awe, aesthetic appreciation. They provide us with moments for us to ponder grace, love, and value human connection. In a very real way, they carve out moments in our existence to experience times of sanctuary, where our lives can intersect the divine, and we can draw closer to knowing and loving God. Think of the swelling chorus of the Ode to Joy, or the sublime beauty of an impressionist masterpiece, or the closing chapter of a novel that has touched your spirit, and you turn the last page with tear-filled eyes, knowing this beautiful melancholic joy, knowing that you have experienced something wonderful that's touched your heart, but it's come to an end. In Genesis chapter 1, verse 27, we're told this. So God created humankind in his image. In the image of God he created them. Male and female he created them. I believe that our ability to be touched and to be moved by art is evidence of this divine spark that's hidden in each human. My hope is that you have experienced the joy of great art over this past year, and it has provided you with moments of sanctuary, where you have drawn closer to the divine through a deeper appreciation of love and of beauty, of joy, and all of the deep truths and themes of human existence. My hope is that you'll stand in wonder, in the awe of a majestic Creator God who made us in his image to have and to know this wonderful gift. And may you be blessed.